says state sponsors of terrorist groups like the Taliban, Al-Qaeda and Daesh cannot claim that they are fighting terrorism. Hassan Rouhani made the comment during a meeting with the Pakistani Parliament Speaker Sardar Ayaz Sadiq in the Iranian capital. Rouhani said some countries have for years funded and armed terrorists, and they are still doing so. The Iranian president added that the region is plagued with terrorism and all countries must join hands to beat terror groups. The Pakistani official also said the Taliban and Daesh are growing in the region and they should be confronted through cooperation among regional countries. Jason Unruhe is a political commentator and analyst who joins us from Ontario. Iranian president saying that there are some countries who are sponsors of terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, but yet they're saying that they are fighting terrorism. Which countries do you think Iran's president is referring to?
Oh, there's no doubt that the Iranian president is referring to the United States and Saudi Arabia primarily. These two countries have done the most to fund those who are attacking many Middle Eastern countries, the Daesh, ISIS, etc. Saudi Arabia is particularly one of the worst in the region because it's so close to the actual action. Saudi Arabia has continued to fund Wahhabist groups all through the Middle East, through ISIS, to Afghanistan, Yemen, and everywhere else in between. Saudi Arabia has been using these extremists to push their own agenda. Instead of expending their own manpower on most of their own imperialist endeavors, they often use Wahhabists to do the dirty work for them. This way they have a seemingly plausible deniability. They can turn around and say we must denounce terror while they themselves are actually funding it. Now, even though the international community already knows that they're doing this, everyone knows that they're doing this. The most heinous of human rights abuses are carried out while the Saudi hands can be seen as completely clean from it. You know, it should not be a coincidence that every target of Saudi Arabia has been attacked by ISIS, particularly Syria, Daesh, etc., other such groups. You know, for some reason, ISIS never attacks Israel, which is Saudi Arabia is in an alliance with, even as they kill Palestinians. Now, every time a group appears that would be in the interest of the Saudis to just quietly go away, ISIS shows up or some other, Wahhabist group. The U.S. is also has a terrible influence on this. The U.S. has allowed Saudi Arabia and others to supply weapons to the Daesh. When the U.S. State Department announced on, I think it was about March 24th, that it was sanctioning, the 30 countries or entities for arms control measures, not a single one of them was accused of providing arms to the Daesh. So while they're claiming that they want to stop arms from getting into the hands of terrorists, all the countries that they sanctioned, all the countries they criticized, none of them were actually giving weapons to the Daesh. There's widespread speculation about ISIS apparent links to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, and other U.S.-aligned countries in the Middle East, and none of these countries were sanctioned. No, the 30 entities that were made subject to the new sanctions were specifically targeted under a law making it illegal to supply arms to Iran, Syria government, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The Syrian government is ISIS's primary enemy. Iran's IRGC are on the battlefield against ISIS every day, and Iran has taken other measures to support Syria. If defeating ISIS is the stated goal of the United States, why would they disarm their opponents? Of all the priorities of the U.S. government, why is cutting off weapons to the Syrian government, Hezbollah, Iran, and other anti-ISIS fighters such a priority? Is there any such action being taken to cut off the weapons supply to ISIS or al-Nusra? Is any investigation taking place into Saudi Arabia's alleged ties to the Daesh?
Very well, thank you for that indeed. Jason Unruhe, political commentator and analyst from Ontario.